Okay, welcome to the video that discusses how to do an observational sketch. And we're going to do two things. I'm going to use this image just to kind of explain things and explain the setup. And then I'm going to actually do an observational sketch for you so you can kind of see what's required and how long it should take. So with this first one, you're going to need to put your name, date, and the teacher's subject. Whatever your teacher requires to be the heading, that's what you need to put there. If it's a little different than this, do what your teacher requires. And you're going to need to have a title, observational sketch, number whatever week it is or whatever sketch it is. And then you're going to need to have a title of the sketch. This is just a cup because this is what we're drawing. So if it's a bunch of cups or a cup and a plate, then you'll put that. Just kind of whatever's going to let your teacher know that was the theme of what you were drawing here and sketching. And then it's going to have down here your grade sheet. Whatever kind of grade sheet your teacher is giving you, that's where it goes. And your teacher is going to fill all this out, so you don't fill any of this out. Your teacher's going to come along and check it. And for example, and it may be a little different than this, your grade sheet. So if you see something on here that's not on what you have, that's fine. But if she says, oh, let's see, they didn't give a reason, so here they're going to say minus 10, like this. That's what your teacher would do. So you can see what you missed, okay, and what you didn't do and why you got the grade you did. Your grade's going to go down here. And if your teacher wants, there are bonus points here if you include a little bit of color, if you put the surface that the object's sitting on, and if you include a sketch of the background, which are all extra things. Makes it take a little more time, but they will give you some bonus points if your teacher decides to do that. She may just decide not to do anything with this at all and say, don't worry about the bonus points. So again, it's going to be whatever your teacher decides to do. So let's talk about the sketch. This one's just of a cup. If you notice, there's not any well-defined lines here. It's kind of like a whole bunch of them. And I usually say when you do a sketch, it's not the final drawing, and you want to give yourself time to shop around. Okay, like if you're going to go shopping, you might want to look at different stores. If you're buying a product online, you want to look at different places to get the best price. It's kind of what you're doing when you do a sketch. So you can decide to pick lines that are over here, this one, or line in the middle. So a sketch is not only to kind of get the idea of the shape, but also let you look at the whole thing and figure out which lines are going to be best to make this look like what you're wanting to, what you're looking at, you know, what you're observing. So anyway, it's just a lightly done sketch. It's all messy, and that's all that this is supposed to be. You don't need to finish it. It's not a final drawing. It's just a sketch. And then of course you need to write down why you picked this particular cup, or you know, because the direction will say, you know, find a cup out of your kitchen, okay? And you need to write why you picked that cup. Don't say, oh, I picked a cup because you told me to pick a cup. No, why did you pick that particular cup? Okay, I picked this cup because I like the shape and simplicity of it. There you go. So that gives a better reason why you picked this particular cup and not another cup that was in your kitchen. So if it's about scenery, well, why did you pick that scenery? Well, I liked it because it included trees that are in a specific, you know, layout that they lined up just right, and I liked that. So let's do a quick sketch. Okay, I'm going to do just this little lamp light here thing that's laying down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to observe it, see some of the shapes. You have a whole page full of different techniques of observing things. So I'm going to observe that this gets bigger, right, as it goes up, but it's a little curved at the same time. I notice that this curve, that curve all matches, right? And we have right through the middle of this, right, is where this pole is going to go. I don't want it offset, so I want equal sides. You know, the space over here is equal to the space over here. So let's go ahead and kind of get a little sketch going on here. So we're going to draw the rounded piece, and we can curve this out. You notice how I did it straight at first, but now I'm going to come in and give it a little bit of curve. See, I'm giving myself lots of options. Now I'm not putting all the like the title and all that stuff on here. I'm just going to do a drawing. So you make sure you do all that first so you know how much space you have. But I'm just going to do a drawing so you can watch and see how this should go. So we have this, and I noticed, remember, the lines that they match up here. So I have this one, and I'm going to skip some space, and I have one here, and then I have a lot less space right here, so I'm gonna put another one, right? I'll let that kind of meet. I see how this one was gonna be too short, so I'm doing another one over here. And you can do that with this because sketching lets you have lots of options for your lines. There we go. I gotta do this little bottom part. So there's like it's like a circular area here. And then I'm gonna have we're gonna divide the middle here, all right? Because that's what this line is doing when it has a little piece right here. There we go. Then I gotta put the little thing on the side sticking out. About like that. And there we go. So there's my sketch. Ta-da! And that's about how long it should take you, especially if it's just a single item. Now, if I wanted to do the background on this, what would that look like? Well, I'm gonna look at this right here so I could put some of the wood here. Sorry, it's kind of noisy. I want to make sure it's kind of parallel, right? And then above it, the top of this wood area here, it's coming out like that. This way, and then it touches. There we go. So it's kind of sticking up above there just a little bit. Okay, so there we go, and I've sketched it, and I have a little bit of background on it too. Of course, when you do this, like I said, it's probably gonna be a little smaller because you're gonna have your tile up here and your grade sheet and stuff down here, but this is about how long it should be. You give yourself lots of options. It's unfinished. We don't want to finish sketch. I don't want to come in here and say, okay, this is my final line, so I'm gonna do all this. You know, we don't want to do that. But if you wanted to add some shading, you can even do some shading on this, even though it's a sketch like this. I could come in here, I could just darken this up a little bit and add some shading on this side. You know, that's how I'm making it a little bit lighter as I go. I can put some shading down here because it's a little darker. I'm not going to push super hard. I don't want to make it this dark because this is more like a permanent line. So your shading is going to be only a certain amount of values here so that you can just see where it's going to be. So there you go. Did a little bit of shading on there. I could do some in here for the cracks if I wanted to, but I'm not going to really worry about that. So there you go. Now if you want to add some color in here, how do you do that? Okay, let's look at something real quick. Okay, here's another sketch. This one's a little bit more finished. You notice it has some of the final lines. The background's pretty unfinished though, so you don't have to get it this finished, okay? But here's the color that's added. This is watercolor. Watercolor is really good to use because you can still see through it. You just keep it real light and you can still see all the lines under here and all the sketch marks that are still here. So if you're going to add color to something, I would use watercolor and it doesn't come off. If you use pastels, it will come off and you just spray it and all that stuff. You may not have that at home. So watercolor's cheap. You can just get a cheap thing of watercolor. Have it at home if you don't already. And just use that to throw some color on there. So, and this completes your observational sketches. Hopefully this is helpful and enjoy sketching.